I almost didn't want to make this video because I know that there's already a ton of videos out there about the VAR system or about the vaccine adverse event reporting system. But I feel like a lot of those videos, if not all of those videos, fail to look at the data in a very transparent and uncensored manner. So in this video, I'm going to just be trying to present the VAR system in as transparent and an uncensored and unbiased manner as possible. I'm going to start off with this PolitiFact article as a sort of sacrifice to the censorship gods. I know the censorship gods want to hear this shit, so I want to make it very clear that in this video, I will not be saying that these deaths or the deaths that I'm looking at are because of the COVID-19 vaccine. As you can see, the title of this PolitiFact article, or this thing that it has deemed to be false, is the Vaccine Adverse Event Recording System. It's not even the name of VARS, it's supposed to be reporting system, so you can tell that this is intentional misinformation that has been put out there, probably just so that they can write this stupid fucking article. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they're like, hey, let's just create these TikTok posts with real misinformation in it, so we can write these goofy-ass articles that supposedly debunk them. So, as you can tell from the title of this article, anything that says that people have died because of the COVID-19 vaccine is going to be deemed misinformation or medical misinformation because the VARS database doesn't say that people died because of the vaccine. So here's the story in short. Okay, so the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System accepts unverified reports of possible side effects from taking vaccines, and no evidence has established that a COVID-19 vaccine caused any deaths. I don't want to go any further into this article because honestly it's not necessary, and it looks like it was written by this guy who looks like a future CNN producer, if you know what I mean. Look at that shit-eating smirk. Anyway, let's move on to the next bit of information that I want to look at. So this is basically a disclaimer from the CDC, and this disclaimer is just the key considerations and limitations of the VARS data, and it basically says much of the same thing. There's no link, it could be coincidental, this is just a reporting system. It's not a system for people to go and put their theories out on, it's just a reporting system. So now this is from the HHS, and I'm here just to point one thing out because that PolitiFact article and no other article that attempts to discredit the VARS data, none of them mention this, that knowingly filing a false VARS report is a violation of federal law 18 U.S. Code 1001, punishable by fine and imprisonment. And I think that mentioning this is important because a lot of these websites, a lot of these experts, they sort of try to make it like the VARS database is like the Wild West, where it's like anything can be posted there, and just random people can just indiscriminately post whatever lies they want to post there. That's what they make it sound like. But it's not the Wild West. Okay, so let's move on to the next bit of information I want to look at. This is a .gov website. This is not some website that I created myself. So this article, it's kind of fucked up because it's advocating an electronic medical record system that I guess would be like a national one where, like, I don't know, I'm sure people would have access to that in some way. Maybe it would be somewhat confidential, but regardless, it could be hacked, for all you know. But yeah, this is advocating for this electronic medical record reporting system so that like it can be put in somebody's records that, look, this person got a vaccine, and then if something happens to that person, if they're to expire after getting that vaccine, there can be like an automatic reporting system. Now what's weird is I know that hospitals, I know that, my hospital, or at least the doctors that I deal with, I know that they have an electronic medical record, because they can go on the computer and they can be like, oh, you're not vaccinated. And everywhere I go, they give me shit. They're like, oh, why aren't you vaccinated? And then they all try to do their vaccine salesman bullshit to me. But anyway, I digress. I'm just getting upset. The reason why I brought up this article is because of this information. Because this, is a .gov website that clearly states the following. Adverse events from vaccines are common, but underreported, with less than 1% reported to Food and Drug Administration, FDA, and that is reported to the FDA through the VAERS system, because the FDA runs the VAERS system. So that's a really important first sentence there. Adverse events from vaccines are common, but underreported, with less than 1% reported to the Food and Drug Administration. Very important information, because as you're going to see everywhere you look, the CDC, the FDA, they say, oh, these events are rare, and then they cite the VAERS database as if the VAERS database is showing all of the cases. Like, they're not accounting for the fact that the VAERS database, historically, less than 1% of adverse events are reported to the Food and Drug Administration. They don't account for that at all, as you're about to see. So let's leave this page now. I want to look at this page. This is Open VAERS. I don't trust the numbers presented on this site. I am not presenting these numbers as if they're factual numbers. I am presenting this site for pure criticism. This site has numbers that I cannot verify in any way whatsoever. I do not know how they're reaching the numbers that they're reaching. As you can see, they're claiming that this many people have, been reported dead, and that's this year, with a total of this many reported. I have not been able to confirm this at all. They provide all of these charts. The site looks really nice. It looks like it's very well made. It looks like a fair amount of money went into creating this site, but I have no idea how they got their numbers. I mean, I'm sure I can look more into it, and I'm sure that I can ask them questions about how they got their numbers. But as you're going to see, the VAERS data that you can download from the VAERS website does not show anything near these numbers. It shows about half of these numbers that they're showing. So the next bit of information that we need to look at is what the CDC says. So now when we come over to the CDC website, we can look at each of the things that they're following or each of the reports that they're looking at. Anaphylaxis, thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome, myocarditis and pericarditis. Of course, they say all of them are rare, and they say that they're all rare because they're only looking at the reports, and they're assuming that the reports paint the entire picture. So the important thing is not how they consider all of these things rare. The important thing is the number of deaths reported according to the CDC. So according to the CDC, between December 14th, 2020 through December 20th, 2021, during this time, VAERS received 10,688 reports of death. And then it gives this small percentage, and it's like, oh yeah, look how small of a percentage that is. It's so rare. The important thing is that they're saying that this many people were reported to have died after receiving the COVID-19 vaccine. Not because, just after. Remember, there's no actual link. So now, of course, that is nowhere near the 20,000 plus that the openvaers.com website has posted over there. But once again, I have no idea how they got their numbers. Now, I have made some duplicates because it just makes dealing with these files easier. Because anytime I put a filter on, it takes like several minutes for the page to load. So I started with a filter of just whether the person died or not. And I put died, yes. I put a Y because that's how it is here in the system. Under died, they either put a Y or an N. There might actually also be an unknown or not available, but that's not important. So when you just put a Y, whether or not the people died, and we can check this row here, we get 9,918. So there's actually, for this year, 9,918 deaths reported. So this is for this year, and this is also not specifically for the COVID vaccine. This is actually all deaths reported to the VAR system this year, at least as of like 2 days ago when I downloaded this data. So now my problem with that is, of course, like that's a lot of deaths missing. The CDC data, theirs is specifically geared towards reports of death after receiving the COVID-19 vaccine. The CDC is not saying that this is like the total reports of deaths to the VAR system. It's saying specifically for those who received that. Now, I'm sure that there's a logical reason why these numbers are off. Like, one of them is that the CDC data goes back to December of 2020, and this is the file for 2021. I don't know exactly how far back this file goes, but that's not important. There's something else I want to look at in this file, and that is if you go over age here, you get an average age death of 72 years old. Now, there are ages here that are blank. It doesn't count those. That's why when I click on this row, it's only 8,840, and when I click on this row, it's 9,918, because it doesn't account for these empty spaces. Anywhere that the age is not put, it just kind of doesn't calculate it at all. So the average age for the ages that are put here in the total deaths is actually pretty old. It's 72 years old. However, I think I know why the average age of death is so high. I think it's because after looking at these symptom texts, a lot of these people appear to have been in elderly care facilities or in healthcare facilities. Like they were either elderly, as you can see, a lot of them are really old, 100 years old, 96, 50, well, this is only 58, 104. The people who are around the 50s, when you look at their symptom texts, they also appear to actually be in some kind of care facilities. Like maybe they have a mental development issue that causes them to need to be cared for, and they appear to be in basically the care of another person. So essentially, I believe that the things that are getting reported, most of these deaths that are getting reported, they're getting reported because there's whole facilities that are basically responsible for these individuals that are dying. So because they have a whole facility behind them, they actually have a staff. I'm sure that maybe some people in the staff are responsible for filling out these VARS reports, or maybe there are just some people there with a conscience and they're saying, you know what, let me actually take the time to make this report. So that's what is happening. Now, I don't think that people like this guy, this New York Times editor, I don't think that he's going to get a VARS report. Even though it's been reported that he died of a heart attack 1 day after getting his booster, I'm sure that he's not going to have a VARS file filled out for him. So that's what I think is happening with this data. Now I want to look at some reports in this. So I put another filter. I put a filter for, death, yes, number of days between 1 and 45. And I have another one with a filter of between 5 and 55 years old. Now, I want to look at this one between the age 5 and 55. I'm going to be ending the video shortly because I got to run and my laptop is actually about to die. But I wanted to look at this one out of Texas. Texas, no, not the 5-year-old, but I believe it's the 51-year-old. So check this out. Patient had second vaccine, went home and started having cramping in all of her muscles. It became bad enough that she was taken to the local emergency department, where she then started coughing up blood, required intubation, and about 6 hours later died. That's a pretty fucked up report. Now there's another one though, in this dying between 1 and 45 days, was it the 80? Another one over here coughing up blood. 61-year-old. But there's another one. Where is it? Is it this one? I think this 88-year-old. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I think it's this 88-year-old. Vaccine given on 12/29/20 by pharmacy. Oh, actually, look at that. It does go back to December. Oh, actually, well, they passed away in 21. On 1/1/21, resident became lethargic and sluggish and developed a rash on forearms. He was a hospice recipient, and doctor and hospice ordered no treatment. I think you can expand that. Just to continue to monitor. When no improvement of condition reported, doctor and hospice ordered comfort meds. They basically let this person die. I mean, they were already a hospice recipient, as it said, but he clearly got some sort of reaction. Yeah, he clearly got a reaction that caused him to start feeling weird and develop a rash on his forearms. Maybe what it is like at that age, he already received hospice. His immune system was probably already shot, so the rash could have been a development from his immune system just not being able to handle it. But anyway, I'm going to end the video here because, as I said, I got to get running to work. My computer's about to die. I'll probably be making videos about these individual cases and looking at them, but I just really want to make this video to really present this data to everyone in a very clear, transparent, and uncensored manner. And I mean, I'm not trying to downplay it at all. I'm sure that you guys are aware of that. I'm sure that doesn't need to be said. This is still a huge problem. This age group passing away after the vaccine. And of course, it's a huge problem that the CDC is looking at this data as if it covers all reports. These reports are clearly being filled only because these people are dying in, specific facilities. I'm sure that there's a handful of deaths of people here who didn't die in a facility, but it seems like a large majority of them are only being reported because they're dying in facilities that might have more of an obligation to report them. All of the young people who might be suffering, I mean, I've seen some cases where, I think it was the guy who was the mountain biker. He had to really push to have a VAERS report done for him. I mean, they were trying to, just shrug him off as oh, no, you're just having a panic attack. So I can imagine that is happening to hundreds of people, where it's just being shrugged off of, oh, no, it's just a coincidence, no need to file a report. It's just in this person's head. But anyway, I'll see you all in the next video.